p.m. Eastern Time. The Cubs got veteran pitcher Kevin Gausman from Toronto. The Rays acquired pitcher Freddie Peralta from the Mets. And the Yankees picked up infielder Luis Garcia from the Nationals, who had 23 homers and 76 RBIs this year. The Yankees won 2-1 at the Cubs. The White Sox were 9-1 winners at Tampa Bay. Victories for Seattle and San Diego. Detroit shut out the A's 11-0. Braves won their 5th straight. Houston won their 6th in a row. The Angels, with the worst record in the majors, shut out Milwaukee, which has the best mark in the majors, 3-0. Boston took the Sunday night game 8-4 at the Dodgers. The Red Sox have won 5 in a row. The Houston Texans signed veteran defensive end Jadeveon Clowney. Saints wide receiver Jalen Polk retired. Jessica Pegula leads the final of tennis's DC Open after rain. It'll finish Monday.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Owens, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him. Xavier Brown headed the other way. Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Delivers touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into a Monday edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, as well as the Deep South College Football Show YouTube page. We appreciate everybody who's hanging out with us here today. We got the gentlemen hanging out with us here in the Tide 100.9 studios, Jackson and Whitman. How we doing, gentlemen?
I'm doing well. Seems like Whitman's doing all right.
I'm not far behind.
Yeah.
There we go. Real quick, not show related. Whitman, what you would text me about, are we still good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I need to see you after or call you after the show about it, or is there no updates?
We should be good.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sorry. That was just, he had texted me about something a couple of days ago, and I hadn't seen him since then, so wanted to go ahead and double check and make sure we were still good to roll there. Also joining us today, my good buddy Ryan Bond. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to be here. A little different than sitting in studio, but this is going to be interesting.
We're going to be kind of all over the place today here talking college football. Big news and notes from, I guess, the Big Ten and an independent school as USC and Notre Dame have renewed their rivalry here. We've also got some criticisms of the Big Ten here, right? Because the move of USC and Notre Dame has affected non-conference scheduling for another team in the Big Ten. So we'll be a little critical of that today here. We've also got fall camp. Missouri's already hit the practice field today. They've had an open practice. Reporters have already reported on it. So we'll talk a little bit about the Missouri Tigers today here, as well as we still are waiting to see on what's going to happen with Ahmad Hardy here. But I'm sure, we'll get plenty of updates there. Regardless, though, it's a beautiful day in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Let's dive into the conversation here on the Deep South College Football Show, as it was announced earlier today by On3 Sports here that USC and Notre Dame have renewed their rivalry. The Trojans and the Fighting Irish, they will continue their rivalry series there beginning in 2030. Now, there's some notes on this, right? USC, Notre Dame, obviously that's a very historic rivalry there. Notre Dame and USC, I believe this season is the final season it will be played. We'll go 3 years without it, and then it's coming back in 2030. Whereas this game has normally been played later in the season as a traditional rivalry game, now it's going to be played early in the season. In 2030, it will be renewed in the LA Coliseum in week 1. So right out the gate, we're getting a meaningful game.
I actually believe I think last year was the last year of this rivalry. I don't know that they're on the schedule this year for Notre Dame.
Okay, well, let me double check this here real fast.
Because they're, the whole thing about Notre Dame this year is they're going to be a top preseason team, and their biggest game is Miami and BYU.
Yeah, you're right.
Everybody's got their arms up about that.
Looking at the USC schedule here, I'll go ahead and throw it up real fast because I'm sure USC is a team that a lot of people have some championship expectations around. But yeah, this is USC's schedule this season. No Notre Dame, which is really, really odd when you think about it, right? Again, that's such a historic rivalry. It's such a big game. And so no USC Notre Dame this season, but it is a little mitigated with the fact that you've got big games against Oregon. They go to Happy Valley, so traveling that 3 time zones the other direction. Ohio State's got to come to the Coliseum, and then they've also got to go to Bloomington, Indiana as well here. So even though there's no Notre Dame on this schedule here, Ryan, it seems like this at least is a little bit of a tougher schedule out of USC.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely have the Ohio State game circled, especially because there's been some talk going on about Ohio State's kind of stretch and what they got. And there's a lot of big games, it seems like, and it's pretty back to back to back for some of these schools. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I just find it ridiculous looking at that a team in Southern California has to go to New Jersey in September. This still makes no sense to me. And I'm from New Jersey.
It's better than Bloomington, Indiana in November, which they've also got to do.
Well, they have a good chance of beating Rutgers. That Indiana game is going to be really good, but don't get caught sleeping in New Jersey.
We've had this conversation before too. With our buddy Will, and right here on the show, we've had this conversation before about teams that are traveling multiple time zones another direction, right? So Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, and even those Big Ten teams when they got to come to the West Coast to play conference play. Everybody really struggles when they're the ones that are having to travel, right? Washington gets a couple of these big games at home this season. USC, I'm circling that Halloween night game against Ohio State. Probably going to be big noon kickoff. I would assume that's big noon kickoff. I imagine the Big 12 probably doesn't have anything major going on that day. But I imagine that's probably Big 12 or big noon kickoff, which means that game's going to be played at noon Eastern time. Well, for Ohio State, that's putting their body time, like they're playing at noon, yes, but out there in California, that's going to be a 9 a.m. kick. For USC, that's a 9 a.m. kickoff. So if with Ohio State having to travel that far out, what does that do to their internal body clock? And I believe Ohio State's got a bye. I could be wrong. But I believe Ohio State might have a bye going into that. So maybe they can get out there a couple of days early and get their bodies used to that time zone difference there. But even still, you had mentioned it. That game against Rutgers on September the 19th. Look, Antoine Raymond, I think that's the running back's name. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very good runner. He was named an all Big Ten preseason honors to the preseason honors list at all Big Ten. So was KJ Duff, wide receiver at Rutgers. So, and by the way, I was looking this up a couple of days ago. Jackson Whitman, Ryan, do we know who the starting quarterback is at Rutgers this season?
I believe it's Dylan Lonergan.
It is one Mr. Dylan Lonergan.
I didn't know we were caring about who was the starting quarterback at Rutgers this year. If I had known that we were going to give a crap about it, I would have found out.
Well, it's because you're not in the weeds like we are.
I'm sorry. I'm still adapting. I'm adapting to what it takes to deal with the grind of a SEC radio schedule.
I'm telling you, man, it's tough out here.
Seems that way.
It's tough out here, man. Dylan Lonergan, though, starting quarterback at Rutgers, or expected starting quarterback. I think it's probably a little bit of an open competition as Lonergan is a transfer from Boston College, but we know he's a good player. He spent a season here in Tuscaloosa behind, was he the 5th guy behind Holstein, Milroe, Simpson, and Buckner? Or was he the 4th guy ahead of Holstein?
I want to say I know he was low. He was lower on the depth chart.
I knew he was pretty low. He was also a baseball guy.
Front of Holstein.
He was also a baseball guy. He came in and was gonna originally play baseball in addition to football. Kind of that Keith Holcomb track a little bit there because Keith did play both football and baseball. But regardless, it didn't matter. He was only here a season. Then he left. Eli Holstein left. Tyler Buckner went back to Notre Dame. And Alabama brought in Austin Mack in 2024. So that quarterback room went from 5 deep to 3 deep from 23 to 24. But even still, it's a good USC's got to be ready to go on September the 19th. They're traveling 3 time zones the other direction, literally coast to coast. They're going in order to play that game against Rutgers. It's 2:30 Central Time. So that's 3:30 in Rutgers. That's 3:30 in New Jersey. But back on the West Coast, that's noon. That's 12:30. So you've got to be really careful with that body clock and make sure that you're ready to go for these types of football games here. Same thing with Penn State on October the 10th. Penn State going to Penn State, going to Wisconsin, back-to-back games. You've got a bye week on the 17th, but back-to-back games your internal body clock is going to have to really adapt and adjust because you're going to Pennsylvania, you're coming back to California for a week, and then you're going out to Wisconsin, to Madison. So what is that body clock going to look like for these USC players? It's a tough schedule for USC. I'm not saying it's an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination here. Number one, just look at the teams: Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana. Well, those were the top 3 teams in the Big Ten this past poll there. You've also got Penn State, who's a renewed team. Damon Williams in Washington, they could be a threat there. And then you've also got, so that's just in terms of teams. But then you look at where these games are played. You got to go to East Coast or East time zone or Central time zone 4 times with Rutgers, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Indiana. That's not going to be easy. But you do get like Oregon's at home, Washington's at home, Ohio State's at home. So it'll be interesting to see how this works out. But no, going back to this rivalry renewed here for USC and Notre Dame here, thank God, right? I mean, this is a rivalry game that a lot of people have put, not myself, but a lot of people have put on the pedestal of Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma. I don't know if it's got that level of heat, if it's got that level of hatred, just because I'm not a USC or Notre Dame fan. I don't live in California or Indiana. So I don't know if this has got that level of hatred. Like, I'm in Tuscaloosa. I go to Auburn on a decently regular basis, or at least I'm in and around the eastern side of the state pretty regularly. There is so much hatred between these 2 teams. So I don't know if this has got that same level of heat to it, but 2 historic franchises, 2 historic programs, 2 head coaches that have been in this game. They've been in these environments. Marcus Freeman's been to a national championship. Lincoln Riley has coached in big games at USC, hasn't made a playoff yet, but he's coached in big games, right? He's been a part of Red River during his days at Oklahoma. So it's just good to see that we do get one of these rivalries back, right? With conference realignment, with everything that's happened there, we've lost recipes here. We've lost big name rivalries. We've lost these really fun football games. So the fact that we have made a conscious effort to get this one back, I'm more than happy with this move from both USC and Notre Dame.
I just wish my only takeaway from it is we shouldn't have to wait till 2030. This shouldn't have been something that got taken care of after it was too late. They should have had this deal in the works 2, 3, 4 years ago to have it ready to go by 2026, 2027, 2028. You know, I mean, we know these big non-conference games are scheduled 7, 8 years in advance. This feels like something that could have been taken care of, but both teams will probably tell you that the other one was just scared to play them.
I think that literally was Notre Dame's talking point. It was like, we've tried, man. We've tried. Go talk to USC. They went and talked to USC, and USC said, we tried, man. We tried. Go talk to Notre Dame. So it's just a bunch of, no, you're scared to play us. No, you're scared to play Notre Dame. No, you're scared to play USC. And at least finally, we've gotten this figured out. Ryan, you were going to say something.
I think we were talking before we started the show, and because this is being played in 2030 and 2031, Notre Dame and Indiana have canceled their home and home. So I personally think that getting to watch USC versus Notre Dame from a fan's perspective, I'd rather watch that game than Notre Dame and Indiana.
And I am glad you brought this up here, because that was going to be, we're going to talk about the implications of this renewed rivalry and what that means for that series, because we got to look at Indiana's non-con, man. I understand it worked. And I think because it worked, you're going to start to see other teams kind of go by the same wayside, where if they're not required to play a P4 opponent, why would you play a P4 opponent? But the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC all mandate it. I think that at least all 3 of them do. I know for sure the SEC does.
Yeah, with the SEC mandating it, I do feel like that Oklahoma State rivalry should be picked back up. That's one of the ones that I always loved. I mean, who are they playing? They're playing LSU at the end of the season, aren't they? Isn't that their new end of the year rival? Like, that game doesn't really make sense to me to be played on rivalry weekend. Oklahoma just joined the conference. Oklahoma, LSU haven't really had that much of a history against each other. So it would make sense for me personally, just for them to sign Oklahoma State back to that spot. And then you're also guaranteeing yourself to play that out of conference Power 4 opponent.
So I will walk that back a little bit real quick. They played last season, but under the new scheduling in the SEC, their end of season rival is Missouri. So it's no longer Missouri-Arkansas. Arkansas gets LSU at the end of the season in the battle for the boot, whereas Missouri and Oklahoma are going to play each other from their days in the Big 12. That was a little bit of a heated rivalry in the Big 12.
Okay.
But even still, I would love to see Bedlam come back, especially early in the season. Like that be one of your 3 non-con games. It's a Power 4 opponent. It's a rivalry game. Play that joker week 3. Oklahoma. Well, I'll even let Oklahoma get a cupcake game in week 4. Take your cupcake or your bye week in week 4, because week 5 you've got the Red River Shootout, known by no other name on this program.
No, I think Jackson makes a good point with it, taking care of that, non-conference Power 4 game that you have to play, because it kind of parlays into what you said with Indiana. If teams can find ways to, because we, the fans, love to see Texas, Ohio State in week 2. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, I probably, if I have my free choice of options, I'd probably rather play San Jose State or UTEP instead of Ohio State. But for the fans, for the money, for everything that, is off the field, we get those kind of matchups on the field. I think if Oklahoma were to find a way to renew Bedlam with Oklahoma State, put that thing in week 12, because Oklahoma doesn't have a rival in the conference that you could, reasonably
that makes
put
a ton
at
of
that last
sense.
game, that you could put at that last game, because Texas will never be that last game for Oklahoma. That's always middle of October, the Texas State Fair. So, and they haven't had enough time in the conference to build up any sort of matchup with another team. You slap Bedlam there late in the year, just make it Clemson, South Carolina, make it Georgia, Georgia Tech, because Georgia and South Carolina both have their mandatory non-conference Power 4 game checked off every year. Georgia doesn't have to go play Ohio State. Georgia doesn't have to go play Notre Dame or Oregon in week 2, because they've already got theirs just wrapped up in a bow for them at the end of the year. It would make a lot of sense for Oklahoma. Not to mention, what would you rather bring a recruit to? The biggest in-state rivalry that Oklahoma has to offer, or Oklahoma, Missouri?
I think it's a good point. I think it's a fair point. We'll go ahead and take our first time out here as we want to keep things rocking and rolling here on the Deep South College Football Show. We're going to take a look at Indiana's non-conference scheduling next, because with Notre Dame and USC renewing this rivalry, they have now canceled. It's now been canceled, a 2030-2031 home and home with Indiana. This Indiana non-con schedule is pitiful, but we'll take a look at it next here on the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. And speaking of Alabama, fall camp opens up on Wednesday. This is not for public knowledge, so between the 4 of us sitting in this room here, a couple of practices that we get to go see. So really excited about that this upcoming season here. As always, we will bring you as much coverage as we possibly can, photos, videos, that will all be on Tide109.com, as well as my personal X account, which you can see right there at FultonW_. So be sure to check out all of our content coming out from fall camp, as we are 33 days away from the start of Alabama football. Let's go ahead and jump out on the phone lines here. Let's talk with our buddy Ellis in Manchester, Tennessee. Ellis, how you doing, man? Ellis, you there? Going once, going twice. We'll throw Ellis back on hold here, and we'll see if we can get him back in here. Let's go ahead. I think we also got Jacob on the phone lines. Jacob, good afternoon. How you doing, man? Going once, going twice. No Jacob. That's okay. We'll throw y'all back on hold and see if we can get you back on the phone lines here. But going back to the renewed rivalry between USC and Notre Dame, it is now forced Notre Dame and Indiana. I don't know if it's forced it, but Notre Dame and Indiana have now canceled a home and home set for 2030 and 2031. So FB schedules, they do an incredible job with their stuff here. They've also posted Indiana's non-conference scheduling following the cancellation of this home and home here. 2026, North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky. 2027, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, and UMass. 2028, Austin Peay, Eastern Michigan, and Miami of Ohio. 2029, Ball State, Eastern Illinois, and Western Kentucky. 2030, Indiana State and Delaware. No non-conference currently scheduled in 2031, and 2032 at UConn. Just round of applause. Round of applause for Indiana here.
And this comes from a conference that was dogging on the SEC for having a cupcake, quote unquote, cupcake weekend before rivalry week?
This might be the worst slate of non-conference games I've ever seen. And that's even with the fact that like Alabama played Eastern Illinois last season. Alabama pretty regularly plays Western Kentucky. Georgia plays Austin Peay somewhat often, right? As their kind of quote unquote cupcake game. But you've also got Georgia Tech that Georgia's got to go play. Alabama has a Power 4 or Notre Dame non-conference game scheduled every year until 2033. Now, granted, some of them aren't great, right? Like they got to go to Boston College in like 2030. That's not a good game. Boston College, we have no idea what they're going to look like in 2030. I think it's safe to say Boston College probably is not going to be Ohio State by the time that game rolls around. But even still, in the immediate future, right, Alabama's got to play Florida State. And I understand Florida State, big name, not great school this past season. But that's still at least a quote-unquote marquee non-conference game, right? It's at least a good name. Now, Florida State probably going to fire their head coach this season, but even still, it's a big name. Next year, 2027, Alabama goes to Columbus, Ohio for a game against Ohio State. 28, Ohio State comes to Tuscaloosa. 2029, Alabama goes to South Bend, Indiana to play the Fighting Irish. 2030, Notre Dame comes to Tuscaloosa. Georgia's got annual non-conference game against Georgia Tech. They've also got a neutral site game against Florida State coming up in the near future. So when I look at a schedule like this is so difficult to watch. I mean, for the first 3 weeks of every season, Indiana's going to be playing on the Big Ten Network.
This makes sense for an Indiana schedule if Indiana doesn't win a national championship. But I think because of the fact that they now have a natty under their belt, and with the reputation the Big Ten's established, having the past three national championship winners with Michigan, Ohio State, and now Indiana, there's I feel like a little bit more pressure on Indiana to, like, all right, you won the national championship. Let's kind of make this a little bit harder on ourselves. Let's prove that we can still be here, because winning the national championship and turning around and having no Power 4 opponents for almost the next 5 to 6 years, it makes no sense, because now everyone's looking at Indiana. It's like, well, obviously you're doing good because you're not
playing anyone
besides conference games.
Yeah, it's like you're not playing anyone in the non-con. Now, again, it paid off last season, which is why I think you're going to start to see more teams go through and do that. So it almost feels like Indiana is butting heads with the Big Ten and the SEC and the College Football Playoff Committee, right? Because, and let me explain my point here. You see the non-conference schedule for Indiana on the screen: North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky this year, Kennesaw State, Indiana State, and UMass next year. But it seems like the idea of the college football playoff, the reason that a lot of people want to expand to 24 is because it opens the avenue for more of those marquee non-conference games. It opens the avenue for more Texas, Ohio States, Alabama, Ohio States, Alabama, Notre Dames, right? It opens the door for more of these marquee non-conference games, because you're not scared that a loss in week 1 or week 2 is going to hinder you the rest of the season, right? And that is one thing that I do like about the 2014 playoff. If this is what we get, and suddenly, all right, week 1, Alabama's going out and playing Ohio State. Alabama's going to go play Notre Dame. Georgia's going to play Clemson. LSU's going to go play, a marquee team, right? If that's what we get, I'm all for a 2014 playoff, because I think it actually brings more teams it brings more fun games to the regular season. Because again, you're not worried, right? Like if we were in a 4-team era, the loser of Alabama and Ohio State next fall is playing with their back against the wall the entire rest of the year. It doesn't matter if they're a 2-loss team and win their conference. In the 4-team era, you didn't get into the playoff doing that. It did not matter if you lost your big non-con game to start the year, lost 1 game in conference play, but still went out and won your conference. You were out. You got to go play in whatever non-playoff bowl game there was, the Orange Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, whatever. You got to go play in that. Nowadays, if you're a 3-loss conference champion, you're not only in, you're probably getting a home game, and you've got a guaranteed spot if you are a 3-loss Power 4 conference champion. So now you look at it and say, okay, let's say, Texas does go out and lose to Ohio State in week 2. Let's say Texas does go up against Ole Miss and lose, but then Texas turns around and still wins the SEC. That's an 11-2 conference champion. That's in the playoff at that point. So if the Indiana model is what we're about to get, because everybody says, well, they won a national championship. They played dog water teams in the non-con and then still ran their conference. Why don't we just go do that? If that's where this thing leads, I am the biggest hater of the 2014 playoff. But if we get more of these marquee games, the Texas Ohio States, the Oklahoma Michigans, the USC Notre Dames, the SEC having to go play that marquee non-conference game every season. If we get more of that, I'm all for this. But if what you see on the screen is what we're going to end up getting because Indiana won a national championship doing that, screw the 2014 playoff. I hate it. It's the worst thing ever.
I think one thing that's interesting is if you look at, like, obviously with Michigan winning it, Ohio State winning it, and now Indiana wins it. What were Ohio State and Michigan's non-conference games the years they won it? Did their schedules look like this? Because then at that point, if Michigan and Ohio State are playing a Power 4 opponent and they still managed to win the national championship, well, then now the argument's not, well, this worked. It's like, if this worked for you and the team that you have and the school that you have, go do that with what Ohio State's schedule is. Go do that with what Michigan State's schedule is. And then if they still come out and win the national championship, you can keep that argument going.
Michigan's non-conference schedule in 2023, East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green.
Yeah.
Ohio State schedule, Akron, Western Michigan, and Marshall. So this isn't just an Indiana trend now. This is dating back the last 3 national champions. So now this isn't a one-off, Indiana got away with this. This is a trend that we are starting to see in college football.
What was Georgia's non-conference opponents when they won back-to-back? Because obviously
they played Georgia Tech. 2022, they opened the season against Oregon, played Samford, and Clemson, they opened the season in 21. So even still, right, they played in 21 and 22. Georgia had the old model where it was you play this big marquee game to open the season. Georgia won those games. It was the Nick Saban method, right? Shocker, Kirby Smart copied Nick Saban. But it was the Alabama method under Nick Saban. You play that marquee non-conference game, the get up, wake up, it's week 1, we got to go type of ball game. You go play that game in week number 1, Clemson and Oregon. Week 2 was a cupcake. Week 2, the year that they played in 2021, was UAB. Week 2 in 2022, when they went back-to-back, was Samford. So I actually do kind of prefer that model because it gets you excited for the start of the season. You've got those big marquee games in week 1 or even week 2, right? If you want to flip it and go, all right, we got cupcake in week 1 to ease our way into the season. And then week 2 is our get up game. Week 2 is, hey, we got a big dog coming in here. We got to go play somebody of relevance at that point. I'm more than okay with that, especially because Georgia had Georgia Tech at the end of the season, right? South Carolina's got Clemson. We know Florida's got Florida State. Like we know the marquee non-conference rivalry games here in the SEC. But I look at this schedule and I go, man, this is pitiful. If you want to kill college football, if you want to stop the sport growing at the rate that it has been, that's the schedule to do it right there. Nobody will pay attention to the sport of college football until week 4 if that's what the non-conference looks like in the first 3 weeks of the season. Nobody will watch this sport because nobody wants to watch Alabama beat the ever-living tar out of East Carolina in week number 1. Nobody wants to watch Indiana beat the absolute brakes out of North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky for 3 weeks. Nobody will pay attention to the first month of the college football season.
Unless you're a fan and you want to see what the backups look like, because chances are you're going to have your second and third strings playing the entire second half of that game.
Yeah, whoever the hell the backup quarterback is at Indiana, cool. His family gets to watch him play the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I will say, to be fair, that is a byproduct of the new Indiana. These games, though, are a product of 10 years of an advanced scheduling agreements, 5 years in advanced scheduling agreements, to where old Indiana, they're playing these opponents and they're much tighter games. Maybe they win by 10, at most maybe 20.
These were scheduled years in advance. I will give you that. we've also seen games get canceled a year out. We've also seen schedule changes happen a year out. If Indiana wanted to, they'd buy out that Indiana State game. And maybe not Indiana State, right? Because you want to keep some of that. Most teams want to keep that money within the state. That's why, like, Auburn's going to go play South Alabama this season. It's why the Mississippi schools play Southern Miss. It's why LSU plays Louisiana Tech every freaking season. You want to keep that money in state. So I get it. So maybe not Indiana State. Go buy out Kennesaw State. Why the hell is Kennesaw State going to Bloomington, Indiana on on September the 4th? Why? Go buy out that Kennesaw State game and go schedule somebody marquee. Even if it's not an SEC team, because the SEC is being little ponies and doesn't want to go play you. If that is the case, I don't know if it is. If that is the case, go find a Big 12 team. Go find an ACC team. Somebody will want to play you. There are other marquee games and other marquee conferences out there. It doesn't just have to be the SEC and the Big Ten. As much fun as it would be to have an annual SEC Big Ten challenge and to think about the revenue that would bring in, if they don't want to play it, go find somebody else. Go find somebody else to go play those games. We'll go ahead and take our second time out here for our radio listeners. We'll be right back here on the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. We're back with the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Fall camp opens this week for SEC teams, and Missouri has already taken the practice field. So, Whitman, your guy, Austin Simmons, he's already slinging the rock up in Como here.
Hope
you
he's
expect
not,
a big year out of him.
Hope he's not trying to get a little too smart like Eli said at Media Days. Keeps it within himself.
Was that a shot at Lane Kiffin or Pete Golding?
I really don't know. I think it was a shot at Lane Kiffin because it was, sometimes he thinks he's a little too smart. Now he's finally, but I guess that makes a good point. Was he talking about the defense?
Was he too smart in practice and made some plays? I.e., was he able to dissect that defense really, really well in practice? And that's part of why he won the starting job.
I think we're going to go with a shot at Lane Kiffin. One,
that's
because
the more
who
fun
doesn't
answer.
like taking shots at Lane Kiffin?
That's the more fun answer is he took shots at Lane Kiffin, not at Pete Golding. Because what the hell has Pete Golding done, man? He just took over a situation that nobody wanted to be in when you look at, having to step in and coach after the departure of Lane Kiffin. So stepped into a situation that really and truly not many people would have wanted to be in, and somehow tried to keep a roster together when the old head coach is sitting 4 hours south in Baton Rouge, as well as when you look at it, tampering with his entire roster damn near. So I don't know. We'll take it as a shot at Lane Kiffin here. But regardless, Missouri's already hit the practice field here, and of course, Ahmad Hardy got brought up here by the media here. They asked him about Ahmad Hardy's status here. This is the exact quote, word for word, from Eli Drinkwitz. This is courtesy of Missouri Tigers on SI, by the way. This little screenshot is here. Ahmad is in recovery, has not changed since the last 2 weeks. He will not be participating in practice this week, but he will be a participant in rehab and walkthroughs as we continue to get him acclimated back to what it takes to play football. Should not have really an adjustment on that. I think maybe in 2 weeks there may be another update on where everything is at, but it's really the same. We've talked about this before. Whitman and I did last week here. My buddy Chris Phillips, who runs SEC Unfiltered, an anonymous coach told him that they're expecting Ahmad Hardy to miss the first 6 weeks of the season. I don't think that's the vibe that we're getting from what Eli Drinkwitz is saying right now. At least to me.
It sounds like he'd be back earlier than 6 weeks.
This almost looks like he could miss probably the first 3 weeks, maybe a month. But at this current moment in time, on Monday, August the 3rd at 1:42 p.m., I'm kind of expecting Ahmad Hardy to be back by some of these meaningful games in SEC play. Now, the first 3 weeks are Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kansas, and Troy, at Mississippi State here. But once we get past that Mississippi State game, that's the first month. Is he back by the time the Florida Gators come rolling into town?
If I had to guess, an ideal time window would be the first 4 games. You have to go 4-0.
Yeah. You've got to be
doable.
Pine Bluff and Troy, no disrespect to them. I expect Missouri to handle those two. Kansas could get a little frisky just because that one's in Kansas and it is a non-conference rivalry game. But Kansas also doesn't have Jalen Daniels for the first time in 9 years.
Dude, oh my God.
That's a dude that's been in college football forever. Him and Avery Johnson feel like they've been in college football forever.
Yeah. But guys like Jonathan Taylor when they were at Wisconsin. It's like,
he only played 3 years.
10-year college career. But it really.
He was a 3-and-done kid, yeah.
Wow. I mean, he was good enough to be one.
But a guy like and these are guys that felt like they played forever, not actually played forever. Like Jalen Daniels, it feels like we've been talking about him forever today. Avery Johnson, feels like we've talked about Avery Johnson forever at Kansas State. Hunter Renfrow is another guy. He only played 4 years at Clemson, but it felt like he was there for 20. So this is just guys that maybe didn't quite play as long as it feels like they did. We're not talking about Cam Rising, who played legitimately 7 years. We're not talking about Cam McCormick, the tight end from Miami and Oregon that ended up playing like 9 years of college football. We're not talking about those dudes. 9 years. That's insane.
I'm going to refrain. I'm going to turn my mic off.
That's red shirts. That's injuries and whatnot there. But going back to what Eli Drinkwitz had to say about Ahmad Hardy here, courtesy of Missouri on SI here. Ryan, this doesn't, to me, feel like he's going to miss the entire first half of the season. When you go back and look at that schedule, it's a very manageable schedule outside of the fact that, you got the rivalry game at Kansas, but they're introducing a new starting quarterback.
I think one thing that's interesting, too, is if you think about just Ahmad Hardy's situation, Brian Robinson Jr. had the same problem starting his rookie year when he was shot and then
came back. It was either his rookie year or his second year. But I think it was his rookie.
I want to say he still came back. It was like week 2 or week 3. And that happened pretty close to the start of the season. So obviously he wouldn't have played in preseason, missed week 1, missed week 2, came back. Because one of the most iconic entrances coming back from an injury, I think, belongs to Eric Berry and Brian Robinson Jr. have the top 2 entrances after coming back from something major like that.
And going back to Brian Robinson here, he was shot twice as a victim in an attempted robbery. He was released 2 days afterwards. I'm not seeing where he was shot though, because it's different. Like obviously bullet wounds, like you've got to take into account where it happened. Was Robinson shot in the arm? Because Ahmad Hardy was shot in the leg, and he, had a little bit more of an extended stay in the hospital. So what does it look like from a recovery standpoint? Now, Ahmad Hardy, Eli Drinkwitz said this in Tampa at Media Days 2 weeks ago. Ahmad Hardy has been cleared to practice. He's cleared to practice, but at the same time, he wasn't able to lift. He wasn't able to train in the offseason because he was rehabbing. So I think part of this, like he said here, is just getting him reacclimated to what it will take to go play college football, because it's one thing to get reacclimated to go play college football. It's another thing to get reacclimated to go play college football when you're the bell cow, when you're the lead guy, the number one guy in that offense. Because last season, Ahmad Hardy, 256 carries, more than 100 more than the second string running back, or the guy that was spelling him, and Jamal Roberts, who had 124 carries. Now, that's not to say Missouri's, screwed at running back, because Jamal Roberts is a very, very good rusher. He had 800 yards, almost 800 yards rushing last season and 6 touchdowns. That's including the fact that Ahmad Hardy had 1,600 yards last season. So they've got a very, very, very good running back room. I would argue it's, in terms of running back room as a whole, not just talking about the lead guy. Does Missouri have the second or third best running back room in the SEC? I'd give number 1 to Georgia, Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens. But behind that, it's what, Ole Miss and Missouri?
You got to throw Ole Miss in there. I mean, that running back room is deep, man. That running back room, they got some guys. It is not just Kawan Lacey in there toting that pill every day.
Okay, name me someone other than Kawan Lacey.
Well, you got Trinidad Chambliss in the backfield. Pete Golding, their head coach.
Mekhi Frazier, 520 yards last season.
Yeah, no, I wanted to be nice to all those Ole Miss fans that were so rude to you a while ago, man. I'm still not over that.
And look, it's fine. It is what it is. You got to have thick skin to be in this industry. So go ahead and toughen up a little bit more, Whitman.
I'll try my best.
And I appreciate that. That's all I can ask for. Just try your best. Just try your best here. But now, looking at Missouri and Ahmad Hardy here, again, we're going to go back to the schedule here really quick for Missouri. If he does miss the first month of the season, this feels like a very manageable schedule for Missouri simply because of the fact that it's Pine Bluff. Kansas has a new starting quarterback who has less than 300 passing yards last season. Troy, no disrespect, it's Troy. Mississippi State, that's the one that I'm a little worried about because of Kamario Taylor. Things can get really frisky in Starkville. That's how they love it in Starkville, frisky. They like to get frisky down there in Starkville, Mississippi. October 3rd, that's the game that I'm circling. It's like, all right, we need Ahmad Hardy back for that game. Because there's a world where Missouri does go, 5-0 rolling into that Texas A&M game. And maybe we do have something meaningful to play for on October the 10th in Como. And then, of course, you've got October 17th, which will be Austin Simmons' return to Oxford since leaving that first return to Oxford since leaving that program.
The boos will probably not be as loud for that one as they will in the first return to Oxford that we see this year, but that's just my hot take.
Do you think he even gets booed?
I don't,
because he didn't leave. It wasn't like he left with Lane Kiffin. It's not like he went to LSU. It's like, hey, he was the starter. He got hurt, so the backup came in. Well, the backup got another year of eligibility.
And the backup also happened to be one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the country. So, no, I don't think so. I mean, he probably didn't get the game ball when they beat Georgia in Oxford a couple of years ago, but he engineered a touchdown drive or two that in a low-scoring game like that, they probably don't win without.
They needed when Jackson Dart went down in that game.
They did. I mean, I'm not saying, it's not – he's a legend in Oxford, Mississippi. Obviously, he's not, and it'd be foolish to say that. But I don't think that there's a single fan anywhere than Simmons. There's no reason. I mean, you're taking a shot in the dark to try to find something to not like about that kid as an Ole Miss fan.
They wish him well.
They do, yes.
They wish him well.
Yeah, they wish him well, just not on October the 17th.
It's hard to envision that in today's era because, every time somebody from Bama hits the portal, you know what those comment sections look like. Well, if they ain't wearing crimson,
Yeah.
You know what to say.
If they ain't wearing crimson, words we're not allowed to say. Yeah, sheet of paper. If they ain't wearing crimson, sheet of paper. All right, we'll take our last time out here and get ready to wrap up the loose ends and get you ready for the game with Ryan Fowler on the radio side of things right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Get your life.
We mentioned at the top of the show that fall camp is starting here at Alabama, so let's talk very briefly about fall camp. Ryan, give me one thing that you're going to be watching this fall, I guess, really summer still, but this fall as Alabama begins fall camp on Wednesday. It can't be the quarterback battle.
I mean, everyone's been talking about the offensive line. In the spring, Ryan Grubb, we kind of had that idea where the statement came out last year where if we had to play a game tomorrow, it would be tie. We didn't get anything like that in the spring. But we did get from Ryan Grubb in the spring was Jackson Lloyd is our starting left tackle. So I'm interested to see how the faith in some of these new players and some of these guys that they've kept from the coaching staff has remained and how they've just progressed over the season and just kind of what this offensive line is going to be looking like when we roll in the running game. Running game's massive. So
that running game's going to be huge for Alabama this season here. Obviously, we all know about E.J. Crowell, the 5-star running back that didn't get a ton of run in the spring, but from what I heard, and Whitman, you can back me up on this because you were there at Media Days a couple of weeks ago. From what we heard at Media Days, even though we didn't see a ton of E.J. Crowell in the spring, it really feels like E.J. Crowell is their answer for this running back room and this run game and what they want to see improve in this run game.
Either he is the answer or they are hoping like hell that he is the answer by the way they're talking about him.
Yeah,
because if what they're saying is not true and this kid's just not what he's cracked up to be, I'm throwing the hands up.
It's like, what do we do at that point?
But if 80% of what they said is true, this kid's going to be a day 2 draft pick in a couple years.
At least day 2.
The way they were talking about it and the way you guys were hearing things, was it like things that we would hear about Najee Harris or say a Mark Ingram type of running back here at Alabama?
I would say Najee Harris. Yes.
People? Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't in the media sphere. I wasn't listening to things that way back when Mark Ingram was coming through the ranks. But yeah, it's very reminiscent of what we heard about Najee Harris as a true freshman. Like, this guy's going to be a baller. This guy's going to be a playmaker. And Najee had some good spurts as a true freshman, but I almost think you'll see a little bit more of it from EJ Crowell, because when Najee came in, you still had Bo Scarborough, Damian Harris, and Josh Jacobs running that room. And Najee was coming in trying to compete with those guys. No disrespect, I don't see that caliber of running back in this room. So I almost wonder, if you take freshman Najee Harris and put him in this running back room, is he a day one starter? I think it's a pretty good chance he is. So it almost feels like that's where EJ Crowell is going to. I don't know that it'll be day one, but I think by midseason, he's going to be eating into a lot of carries. That'll do it for us today here on the stream. Big thanks to Jackson, Whitman, and Ryan for hanging out with us here. Coming up next for our radio listeners, The Game with Ryan Fowler from 2 until 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. That'll do it for us today here on the YouTube side of things as well. Ryan, I appreciate you, brother. You willing to jump on again tomorrow as you got another day?
Absolutely. Just let me know when I got to be up here, and I'll be here.
Good buddy Ryan Bond hanging out with us here today. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe on the YouTube page here. We are on the road to 200 subscribers. I know it's not a lot, but it's a milestone that we're wanting to hit here. I think when I checked before the show, we're at 122. So, hey, let's see if we can get that 200 by the start of football season. It's an ambitious goal, but by September the 5th, we'd love to have 200 subscribers here on the Deep South College Football Show. Be a friend, tell a friend about the show, leave a like and subscribe, and we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon. Until then, everybody stay safe and God bless.